it's a fool's game to try to single out the most meaningful honor ever given to Billie Jean King. More than enough that Elton John wrote the song Philadelphia Freedom about her, that President Barack Obama gave her the nation's highest honor. All that as spectacular as her 39 Grand Slam tennis titles. Plus, that win for the ages in the 1973 Battle of the Sexes against self-proclaimed chauvinist Bobby Riggs. And yes, there was a movie made of it, because of course there was.
$100,000 to any woman who can beat Bobby Riggs. Is she out there, and does she have the nerve?
To live that life of using sport to push for equality earns more than enough stories to fill the 500-page autobiography All In.
Do you like to write a lot? I guess you
Sure,
have to for this show,
but
right?
getting to those stories and her plans for what's next means first crossing the gauntlet of the Billie Jean King interrogation.
I can't believe where you traveled to. Did you play hockey as a kid?
No, no.
What do you like to do away from?
She fires off questions as swift as her serves. We sat down to talk, or try to talk, virtually.
How are you?
I'm extraordinarily well. This is the most exciting thing that's happened to me in a long time.
Really? You better get a better life going here.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
How'd you know you wanted to be a journalist? Then we'll get started. Sorry.
I'm going to get in trouble if I don't start asking you.
I know, I'm in trouble, you're in trouble. Go ahead, go for it, Adrienne.
You know, I remember watching you with your blue suede tennis shoes were the most radical thing I think I'd ever seen in my life.
I had to argue with Adidas to do those. I argued with them like crazy in '72. I said, I want a colored pair. Because colored television had been there maybe 4 years, 3 years. And I didn't want to have all white in tennis anyway. I didn't think it was good for our sport. I had those shoes for the King Riggs match, which was great. It was fun.
I understand that love of hitting the ball and feeling the impact. But what I'm curious about is the first times when you realize the inequities in it. Like, what happened?
I was daydreaming at the Los Angeles Tennis Club when I was 12, and I realized everybody wore white shoes, white socks, white clothes. And everybody who played was white. And I thought to myself, where's everyone else? And that was the epiphany moment. That was what kind of put me on this course of equality the rest of my life. Money started to enter the picture later in my mind, that people understood money. And that would be a good way to try to help correct things.
Hard to fathom now, but in the late 60s, when Billie Jean King was #1 in the world, she wasn't earning enough to support herself. The men were fine. So she helped form a women's league, threatened boycotts to push for equality. Ultimately agreeing in 1973 to play in the Battle of the Sexes against former tennis champion and loudmouth Bobby Riggs.
The last shot sank into the net, and the old lion was a gracious loser.
She beat him in straight sets.
You have to talk about Bobby Riggs. It's impossible not to have the conversation.
You're correct.
Did you just want to deck him sometimes?
Just for maybe a moment or two, but I think he knew nothing about me. I knew a lot about him, but dominant groups know nothing about subdominant groups. This guy finally was getting some attention that he probably deserved a lot younger in life, so I got it. But when he got to be a little too much, I did call him, I said you're a jerk or you're a creep or something, and he got upset with me. But I was just scared to death if I lost. We may lose everything we'd fought for, and we just were getting started. Mm-hmm. And I knew we had 90 million people watching us in the world, that I knew that was my one opportunity.
Because I wondered if beyond the spectacle of it that is seared in people's minds, how important that moment actually was.
Ever since that match, particularly when I was younger, women would run up to me and say that changed their life, in that it gave them more self-confidence. It gave them the courage to maybe ask for a raise or ask for equal pay. Men come up to me, they're more calm and reflective, sometimes tears in their eyes. You know, I've had a daughter and a son, and I want my daughter to have equal opportunity with my son. And I don't know if I would have thought like that if I hadn't seen that match or experienced it.
It became clear to Billie Jean King what she did and said was all public fodder, including her most private struggles. While still with her husband, she had an affair with a woman. Then, in 1981, the woman blackmailed her, sued her, and outed her.
for someone who is so open and so strong, you were denied an opportunity to come out on your own terms. Like, I'm really sorry to read of what you went through, because it feels like that was stolen from you.
Yeah, that feels like it was stolen. Absolutely. I didn't get to do it on my own terms. And I always want everyone to be able to make any announcement about themselves, particularly if it's about their sexuality and how they identify, to be able to say it when they're ready. But I also was pushed further into the closet, because during the tour in the early 70s, they told me, you can't talk about what you're feeling or thinking at all about your sexuality, or else we're not going to have a tour. And that made it, that made it simple, didn't it? I'm not going to say anything. I want the tour to make it. And this isn't just about me.
Is that why you wrote this book? Is this like a do-over in a way?
Now I'm older. I've lived a lot of life since the 70s. I have spent over 4 years on this. Constantly, every day, living it, thinking it, writing. And even when I did the audio part for the book, reading it, it was so overwhelming. And I'd stop and cry and put my my head on my hands, and then I'd get over it, and then we'd start again.
What were the tears for?
Reliving the things in this book, whether it's the sexuality, whether it's just trying to get equal pay. But these are my ups and downs. These are my journey, and maybe it'll help somebody.
What is it like for you now to watch these players, these women players, find their voices, the likes of the great Naomi Osaka, and say, hey, my terms. I'm going to try to do this on my terms.
No, for me, it's wonderful. This is what we fought for, that we'd have a platform so women could talk and say what's on their mind and try to push the envelope. Naomi is doing that, which I think is fantastic. But I do think that when a person wants to be a professional athlete, which we are a performer, we're in the entertainment business, that talking to the media is extremely important, because without you, we wouldn't be making the money we make.
But to her point about, that when the cameras come after a match that maybe you haven't done well in, and you are in that lonely moment, is there not a cruelty there?
I always looked at each person that was a journalist there, a writer, and I would say, well, this is what they do for their job, just like I play tennis for my job. So to me, we were in this together. Are you going to get some jerks? Absolutely. You're going to get a few, but they're very few. But it's very important not to take things personally either.
Have you had this conversation with Naomi Osaka?
No, I have not yet. We do text and all that, but I try to stay out of it. If she wants my opinion, I will give it to her. But the most important thing with any human being that I know is I want them to be all right, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
I see that desire in you to keep pushing and changing. There's a reason why it's the last line in your book, the we're not done yet.
Equality and equity starting to be talked about a lot more the last few years, finally. I'm like, finally. Women have to be perceived as leaders for everyone, not just for women. But in my heart and mind, because I grew up with a brother, been married to a male, been married to a female, I'm for everybody. So, and we've got transgenders, we're not in a binary world anymore. We have to think differently. And the young ones, I really have faith in them. I think they're going to do great.
Thank you very much. You take care.
Thanks, Adrienne.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.